Fringe is here, every voice we wanna hear. Stages set, the lights are bright, bring your art into the night. Casey's heart, it beats so loud, every artist in the crowd. Voices rise and colors blend, create a world that won't end. Welcome to Fringe, the place is calling. Lights are flashing, hearts are falling. Join the wave, come feel the motion. Dive into this Fringe devotion. Stories told and laughter shared, every stage shows how we care. Dreamers rise and new worlds make.
All right. Welcome to this podcast is Uncalled For. My name is Mike Chernevsky. I'll be your host and producer this evening. I'm with our co-host tonight, so speedy recovery to Heather. And let's go and bring out tonight's guests. An actor I've worked with before, and he's kind enough to come back to Kansas City and help us out this time. So please welcome George M. Dean to the podcast for the third time.
Nice.
All right. So as mentioned, this is your third time on the podcast, but the first time you're sitting with me on the podcast in person.
Right. It's the first time I've actually got to physically be with you, which has been the story for a lot of people through the pandemic and post. Therefore, I think the last time was right near the end of the pandemic, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the first time, how long ago was it? We were using Blog Talk Radio for...
Oh, wow.
and that was just before the pandemic, and then we did the second one like a year or two into it.
Yeah.
And also contributing as I was here, but you were either in
I believe I was in New Mexico at the time.
New Mexico, or I think Colorado at one point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been bouncing around. That's the thing about acting. You never know what state you're going to be in depending on which month it is. New Mexico has a special place in my heart because my manager's there. She used to be. I used to have an agency there, but now my agency's in Atlanta. So it's kind of easy to be able to come here a lot more often because, Atlanta and New Mexico, Kansas is kind of right in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what I call home because Lawrence is where I got my start. Kansas City is where I first signed with an agency back 6 years ago. I was with Moxie Talent.
Okay.
I think it was, and then I got my agency in Colorado, and then my one in New Mexico, and now I'm with one in Atlanta. So just switching gears from commercials to movies has been quite an adventure.
Yeah, I'll bet. So as you probably know, you're not the first Tales from the Interim Nets actor to be on my podcast, and you certainly won't be the last. But you are the first to crack the three-timers.
Yes.
So, take that, Adam McKeith. He's on bound twice.
Isn't he still in California at this point?
Who knows where he is anymore.
Yeah, he bounces around like I do.
Yeah. He's either here or he's in L.A. or but he's been an interesting guest to have on as well. So.
Great guy. Love interesting stories and good anecdotes. I've always liked. I liked working with him. He's a good actor too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got solid skills.
We need to get Alan Calvert on the podcast at some point.
Yeah, and rest in peace to Steve. One person who can't ever be on the podcast again. He passed away. And that's sad. But he was a heck of a comedian and a heck of an actor. It's a big hole in my heart since he left.
I spoke at his funeral.
You did.
I did.
I couldn't make it back in time, unfortunately. But
it was a beautiful little service. They kept it open for anyone who wanted to speak, and I took the opportunity to speak and. Several of our IFC friends, including the guy you joined the Three Timers Club with this Fringe Festival, Mr. Brian Boy.
Yep.
He attended as well, and it was beautiful. It was pretty hot that day. This was a little more than a year ago that we're talking about now with Steve. They rented that community center in Independence, and it was hot.
Yeah. It's humid here. The heat's different. I miss the dry heat of New Mexico, I'll be honest. Kansas heat, it just attacks you. It really does. It's rude.
Right?
It's a rude type of heat. I don't think the weather should want to, purposely want to kill you, but the weather here seems to have a general homicidal nature.
Oh, it does. It does.
I'm not a big fan.
Especially with the types of storms we've been having the last couple of years. So last summer, I recall mid-July, it went torrential downpour. I was actually driving to the chess club office that particular day, stupidly, and felt, the wind, particularly around Sprint Center area, T-Mobile Center, wherever they want to call it now. Just felt the wind gushing and wanted to push me off the road.
Oh, man.
And, that was fun. And then just a few weeks ago, we had more storms. I was taking my brother to a doctor's appointment, which I've been doing a lot this past year, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. And I can go into a little bit more detail, but I know I want to respect his privacy
Sure.
about everything. But we were at an appointment, and it was raining pretty hard. It rained so hard that Indian Creek was overflowing, and we had to cross Indian Creek to get home. Right? So, and then we get home, and the basement's flooded.
Yeah, it's
including my bedroom.
a lot more rain than I remember when I left Kansas City 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I could see the significant difference when I first drove back into Lawrence, because when I left it looked like a normal Kansas town, and when I come back it looks, the trees are over the roads, and it looks like I'm driving through a tropical rainforest.
Right.
It's so green, and maybe it's because I spent 6 years in the desert, but
that might be
the reason I was overexcited about it. I was like, oh, look, grass. I just want to lay in it. But then I remembered y'all have chiggers, and that didn't work out. So, you get so excited, oh, there's going to be grass again when you come back from a place like that. But, it was worth it. I wouldn't have my agent or my manager or my team, my publicist, everybody who works hard to make me George M. Dean. I like to say it that way because, when you become an actor and you take on your actor name, it kind of feels like you're living two lives,
Right.
yourself. And then, then you got to go be, the actor. And a lot of it's just stuff like this. A lot of it's auditions and just it keeps you busy. But, the advantage of the pandemic, one of the very few advantages is at-home auditions now.
Sure.
So they just send it to you through a system. Your manager and agent looks it over, sees that they're interested in having you do it, and then they just email it to you, and then you record everything in your home, and you just send back the video file, and they make it look pretty and make you look good, and it's all cut and dry now. You don't even have to go into offices and be all intimidated by realizing that everybody else in the room is more attractive than you.
Right.
You're like, I'm probably not going to get this. 'Cause that guy looked like a young Chris Hansen, and I think this isn't going to work out for me. But, that takes that part out. But it also kind of, I don't know, takes something else out, like the energy and the nervousness of the audition room it sometimes feeds you. And that's kind of gone now. So, I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword, as most things are.
I see. Yeah, because of that pandemic, I haven't done much film myself lately. And then again, I do have a day job that keeps me pretty busy. Well, 2 day jobs. But I've been keeping pretty busy, plus doing the podcast. It seems like almost a full-time job if you stop to think about it. But but the important thing is I enjoy doing what I'm doing. There's a lot less stress. Not saying there's no stress, but there's a lot less of it trying to run a podcast and trying to get a film put together.
Oh, I bet. I mean, it's a different beast, but directing I know as an actor we can be a lot. So, as a director, and you're dealing with that, and then all the technicalities of everything surrounding I like to call it the piece that is the actor. They're like a prop. On every set I've been on, I felt like a prop. Like, stand here, put this on, do this. They dress you up, and you become part of the set. It's so big. I know when we were I can talk about it now. When we were shooting Love Lies Bleeding, and we do like Kristen Stewart. She was over playing hacky sack. That's what she does in her downtime and keeps herself busy.
Is this Kristen Stewart of Twilight?
Yeah, that girl from Twilight. She's a really, really awesome person. They're a fan of hacky sack, so that's what they did. Is they played hacky sack in their free time. Katie O'Brien, they lifted weights. Me personally, I hung out in the crafts because I like to snack,
Sure.
candies and crackers and stuff. So I'd hand out in craft services. But each one of us, when we brought in, were just a prop. There's like, come here, stand here, do this, and we'll shoot. Maybe 2-3 seconds, 30 seconds max, and then you're set aside again. So I think a lot of people outside the industry, and I did certainly before I'd been on. This movie was for A24, for example. So A24 is a pretty big studio. They got a lot of press for doing that, everything, everywhere, all at once. Mm-hmm. So it really put them on the map. And I thought when I first got in acting that, because I come from a theater background, I'd have to spend a lot of time memorizing lines and these big, but you really don't, because you have so much downtime on set to go over your lines over and over again. I think I was on set for like 4 or 5 days. I had my trailer. I think I spent about 70% of my time just in my trailer watching movies on my laptop.
Wow.
Doing some push-ups or whatever just to keep busy. And also because of Katie O'Brien, because man, they are a beast, okay? So they were using real weights. Mm-hmm. Shoot, shot after shot after shot after shot. They had like 100 pounds on there. And they were like, cut, and then let's shoot it again. And they do it again, 10 reps, like 100. Mm-hmm. And this is like 45 minutes going, and they're just pumping. And I'm like, man, I need to go to the gym more. You just, I was like, I am weak.
So do I.
I am weak, and you are strong, and you could whoop me, and now I need to go to the gym more.
Yeah.
But, it's a lot different once I got on set than I thought it would be when it came to the big sets. Because I've done a lot of, smaller stuff, but being on an A24 set was a completely different beast than anything I'd done before. It's all Hulu, Netflix, all those are kind of like that.
Right.
Where it's really not about memorizing lines, it's just about being available.
Yeah.
Just being a prop, and they bring in, pretty you up. I give me a giant mustache for that one, which is hilarious.
Nice.
So I came in with the full beard and went to the makeup trailer, said, I'm giving you a fresh canvas. So they shaved everything off, but the giant mustache, fluffed it, and it was it's based in the 80s. So they give me that full 80s and drives a Trans Am mustache.
Wow.
So
yeah.
it was pretty
That's
great.
Awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, here there. Shout out to Michelle Yeoh. Yeah.
Amazing. I've been a fan of hers for decades.
Yeah. And she's in Star Trek now. She played Captain Georgiou in Discovery, and we got that Section 31 film coming out.
Yeah, and I saw her in something else too. I can't remember what it was, but
she's in a lot of stuff.
She keeps popping up.
Yeah.
And different stuff, and I love it. So.
And respect for her doing those old martial arts films.
She's
oh my God.
She's a gangster, man. She is a gangster. Her moves, she floats. Even as she gets older, she just doesn't seem to be slowing down.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great.
Kind of like Shatner in that way, keeping it within Star Trek. So.
Right.
The dude's in his 90s now.
We really are living a lot longer nowadays than 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's insane how long. Because back 20 years ago, you're 65, you're retiring from acting, you're hanging up the mantle. Now Morgan Freeman's doing some of his best work.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's looked that age to me since Lean on Me. He's always looked older to me, so I've never seen much of a difference. But yeah, now I'm just back in Lawrence for a little bit. With my agent being in Atlanta, most of the stuff I'm being presented for is either in Atlanta, New Mexico, or LA, because it's the 3 places I bounce around to, because my headshot guy's out in LA, so I have to go there once a year no matter what to get my headshots. And then my manager has me come to New Mexico to meet with her and stuff, and then any of my projects are going to be in one of those 3 places. But really, I did learn something very interesting, that there's really only 5 places you can live right now and have a real acting career, because I have a local address in New Mexico, and that's why I'm able to work there. And I still have my address there and live there too, and then I live in Lawrence as well, and I bounce back and forth. But I also have local addresses in Atlanta, and have a local address in LA that I stay out when I'm out there. Really, you have to get in, you have to get local. somewhere. So you got to live in Atlanta, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Chicago, New York, or LA. If you don't move to one of those 5 places until you get a big enough name and an agent and a manager, you're never going to get an agent or manager, and you're never going to break into the industry as an actor. And I had to learn that the hard way, so that's why I moved for 6 years. But now that I have my agent and manager stuff, I'm able to bounce around and be able to bring my kids back to Lawrence, because I'm. Jason Sudeikis, Paul Rudd, me, we're Kansas City people. This is where we started our boots on the ground movement at, and so,
And of course, those names you just mentioned, Rudd and Sudeikis, they're my fellow Shine Mission West Vikings.
Yes. Go Vikings, right?
Yeah. I recently did a episode of the podcast with some experts. They're doing a book on Ted Lasso.
Okay.
And
a book on the show, Ted Lasso? Or
yeah.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I told him, hey, I was at West with Sudeikis for a year, his senior year, my freshman year. And one of the teachers I had was Donnie Campbell.
Okay.
The basketball coach who during the day was teaching geometry. I just happened to have him for geometry, and I had him as a football coach at a couple of points too. So I knew Donnie Campbell all 4 years of
you knew him as a math teacher.
I know him as a math teacher and as a coach, but I didn't play basketball despite being 6'1". But Sudeikis, last time you were here, I read the yearbook entry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I read that same entry to these experts, and yeah, that's an interesting.
So they're going to use some of that for the.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
All right, that's
Marnie
awesome.
and Nick, if you're listening. Yeah, absolutely. I did send the audio to them so they could use it.
Right. Maybe take the photo from the yearbook. Man, that's the thing. Yearbooks, man. I wish they would have stayed as prevalent, because there's just something about the physical yearbook and having your friends sign it and going back. None of my kids cared about the yearbook, wanted one. It's just not a big thing anymore.
I think it was a bigger thing in high school than at any other points. So I still have all 4 of my high school yearbooks.
Wow. I probably do, but they're probably in mothballs somewhere in a box, wrapped up. So yeah.
At college, I didn't really care about. I didn't even know they were doing college work yearbooks, but I guess it varies from college to college, because I'm pretty sure they didn't do it at Johnson County, and I don't think they do it at UMKC either. So
yeah. So hey, on the subject of KC, I wonder if Kansas City, Missouri is going to hold on to the Chiefs. Because
so you heard about the vote,
right?
right?
A lot going on here.
So you heard about the votes, okay? Kansas stepped in near the end of their legislative session and said, "Okay, we'll give you tax breaks if you come to KCK." So that is an option that they can certainly take. They'll keep them in the area.
Right.
In theory, that would apply to the Royals too, but let's be honest, the Royals need to be downtown. All right? They've needed to be downtown since pretty much when they started. They certainly needed to be downtown by the time the momentum in baseball started shifting back towards downtowns and everything. So no excuses. Let's get that team downtown.
Yeah, I've never watched a lot of baseball, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're not the only one that feels that way.
Yeah. And I've seen a couple of downtown ballparks. Houston, Minute Park, saw that. Busch Stadium, St. Louis, saw that. I haven't seen the Pirates ballpark, but I saw its predecessor, Three Rivers, pretty much right on the opposite side of the river from their downtown. Minneapolis, I saw Tarjay Field being built. So yeah, and it's all walkable and everything. You cannot say the same thing about Kaufman, like even remotely. I want hangouts after the game. Okay, I got to cross a sea of parking lots and then 6 lanes of traffic to get to fucking Taco Bell.
There's something to be said for that whole walking with your kids to the baseball game from your house. Just it's kind of something very American about it.
And if you have to live downtown, you wouldn't even have to drive. You just walk.
Right.
And that's what pisses me off most of it. Everyone's saying, "Oh, you can't put it downtown. Where will people park?" Or specific to the sites that was voted down. Oh, you can't put it in the middle of the crossroad. Well, you would be putting it where the Star printing press was. There's really not much going on there.
Right.
And they're talking about, oh, we'll be displacing small businesses, and it's not going to look good for the arts community. I've never set foot in any of those businesses. And there's plenty of space in the Crossroads. The Crossroads is a big fucking district.
If big cities can make it happen, Kansas City can make it happen.
Yeah, no excuses. And on the parking thing, the streetcar extension will be open next year. And that site is like 2 blocks away from the Kauffman Center stop of the streetcars.
Yeah, the Chiefs and the Royals,
definitely
they don't have to be in the same stadium. They do not have to be.
Exactly. They only have to be next door to each other. Exactly.
Right. It's crazy that being out of town and watching the Chiefs dynasty come to life after being in Lawrence for 15 years before I switched back to my acting career. And, Chiefs being the Chiefs, I was like, I'm a Chiefs fan, but, we deal with our disappointment every year.
Capped off by the tight end dating the the biggest pop superstar in the world right now.
Yeah, it's like a perfect chaos circle of amazingness. It's just for the Chiefs. But now, if you live here, you really can't afford to go see them. I was looking at tickets, and it's like $450 for the crappy seats for the opening game.
I'm not surprised. The last NFL game I went to was Chiefs at Rams in St. Louis, 2010. I think those were $80 for just for the tickets.
Man,
and that's a very walkable stadium, the Dome. My hotel is like just on the other side of the convention center from the Dome. Could easily walk there. I jumped on the Metrolink after that game. Took it to the Galleria, saw a film, came back. Yep. So we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely. We're getting there, Kansas City, and I would love to see getting some form of rail, metro wide at some point in my life, extending the streetcar is just a good first step. Starting the streetcar was a good first step.
Kansas City's come a long ways. Look at the KC Fringe Festival. Where was it, year 20?
Where's year 20?
20-year anniversary.
20
Shout out
years.
to the Kansas City Fringe Festival. Yeah. I'm just so glad that I could be here and come back and see how things have changed. Steph was the commissioner for a long time, and I hear she stepped down this year.
From the film office? Yeah, I heard that. I heard that too. Yeah.
Wow, that's I just thought she would retire from there. She was there for so long, and she really was a big push to promote. She got a few things brought here that wouldn't normally have come to Kansas City. What I don't understand is why more with all this free land out here, because a lot of the reasons like they shoot a lot in New Mexico is all that free land and the tax breaks. I just wonder what's stopping them from taking advantage and just offering those tax breaks. Like what's the holdup, Kansas City? Let's give them what they want.
The holdups are Topeka and Jefferson City.
Always,
let's be honest.
Always. Well, it's not exactly an artsy town, is it, Topeka?
Yeah, North Jefferson City. Jefferson City is as close to small town America as it gets, and it happens to be a state capital.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I actually had to drive out to Topeka a couple of months ago. I had an uncle who lived in the Houston area, pass away, and got a piece of his estate. A fourth of the part that would have gone to my mom.
Gotcha.
Right. So in order to do that, we had to have a valid birth certificate, and we somehow lost mine. So I had to drive out to Topeka, day trip. Don't really recommend. Usually Topeka, I would say, go out there, spend the night, and then come back the next day. But in this situation, I had to day trip it, and they were and shout outs to that's Department of Kansas State Government, because they were on it and they did a good job.
That's good. At least I'm just not a fan of Topeka. I don't like leaving Lawrence or Kansas City. Those are my two spots here. I'm from Dallas originally, so I'm used. I'm used to a big city. So anything that's got under like 80,000 people in it, I'm not a big fan. But Topeka also, it just has a lot of neighborhoods where you just don't want to get caught in. And
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
agree.
violence. I mean, there was a long time when Wyandotte was having a lot of problems with crime, and then Topeka was having problems with crime. And then their little gang wars started to end up on the streets of Lawrence, out by the turnpike. And this whole city of Lawrence got together and would
Knock
buckled
it
down
off.
and said, no, you're not going to fight here. Your war that you're having or whatever, for whatever reason they were having it. But there was a couple of stabbings, and Lawrence doesn't have anything like that ever happen. So we were like, whoa, But it's been a little bit. It's been a little bit of a culture shock coming back. It's just a lot. It's small town America. It's the Midwest. Now, I love that customer service exists here.
Yeah.
Because you leave the Midwest,
It varies from place to place.
customer service is a lot different. Like if I'm in LA, I'm getting some pretty decent customer service during the day, but at night sometimes. Don't get me wrong, Hollywood, LA, that's the big ticket. I get it. I'm just not a big fan. I'm a South Dallas, Lawrence, Kansas, Midwest kind of guy, and I like friendly handshakes, and I like a good meal, and I like slow pace. You never sit down in LA. It is just full bullet train from the
Right.
moment you land until you leave. There's always things you have to be at and do when you're out there, and everything takes forever to get to because everything's so.
I believe it.
Oh,
I believe it.
it's like, oh yeah, I'm 15 minutes from the airport. Great. Oh yeah, 15-minute drive. Like, oh, an hour? We're 15 miles away. Yeah, that's about right. Now an hour. I'm like, man. So, and cost is ridiculous comparatively. The rent I was paying out on the West Coast compared to the rent I pay in Lawrence.
Might as well buy a house.
It's like half. Yeah, it's like half, and I got like twice as much room here. It's insane. Shout out to Kansas City, shout out to Lawrence. I love it out here. It's a beautiful place. I wish I could be out here more, but being an actor, you get done with
Do what you gotta do. Yeah.
bouncing around to the cities that are doing the shootings, as it were.
And we probably could add Vancouver and Toronto to, if you want to take it into Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to move north, though, oh man, I've considered. Unfortunately, my significant other hates the cold severely, and I've asked her because I've considered wanting to move to Vancouver because Supernatural was shot out there. Yeah. All the WB shows are shot out there. A lot of the stuff I like to watch has been shot out there. Julie Noki, she's this YouTube influencer I love to watch. She's out there. Ryan George, he's a YouTube influencer I love. He's out there, and I have a few actor friends that are out there. I would love to spend some time in Vancouver or stuff. They pick on Ottawa. I'd love to go to Ottawa just to find out what they're talking about because they all make jokes like, "Oh, you don't want to go to Ottawa," and I'm like, "Okay, now I want to go to Ottawa to find out what is this Canadian beef against Ottawa and Vancouver."
Well, it's similar to Washington, and Ottawa's the nation's capital of Canada. So Ottawa's their DC.
Yeah, so maybe if it has half as much crime as our DC has, then that might be why. But yeah, I had fun. It was great to be able to shoot some movies and stuff out there. Tons of audition. My agent manager I spend most of my time auditioning just to, stay on topic here about the acting world and stuff. I just feel like that's all I do is I spend most of my time auditioning and then, marketing.
Yeah.
Stuff like this. I wish it was a little more like theater, the film TV world, because a theater, it's 70% of your time you spend acting, and 30% of your time you spend on everything else. And then TV and film, it's 70% of your time is on everything else, and then 30% of the time you actually get to act. But I don't want to be in theater because I don't want to dance around and do 6 weeks of shows and all that stuff. I did that.
Get in, boom.
Yeah, I did Shakespeare in the park.
Let the technical guys do most of the other.
Oh, and I'll tell you, man, I never want to do Shakespeare again. I did Taming of the Shrew, and I did The Tempest, and memorizing an entire play of Shakespeare and then trying to find the inflections in the Shakespeare that make it sound like normal modern speech. It was the hardest thing I probably ever did in my acting career to this day, and I just never want to go back to that. But the acting part, the fact you get to spend most of your time actually performing, creating characters, that's the bread and butter of why most actors love what we do. But you really got to love it, man. You really got to love it.
And you were talking about finding things to do when in your downtime, like whether it's hacky sack or lifting weights or in the case of one, Anson Mounts, doing a podcast.
Right.
Yeah. Shout out to the Well Podcast, who, let's be honest, this podcast was kind of inspired by that podcast.
Oh, okay.
They talk about all sorts of different creativity and all different avenues of finding creative ways to interact with the world. The postcard that is part of our poster here, they did a Indiegogo to send Brandon out to just pre-pandemic to St. Croix for a week-long survival camp.
Okay.
And I just sent them $5. They put my name in the credits, so that was pretty cool. And they sent me that postcard. So
you're able to add it to your collage
Yeah.
of the 5 strong years this podcast has been going.
Oh yeah. And that's not even my favorite episode of theirs. My favorite episode of theirs is entitled "The Martini Samurai."
Gotcha. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. So in that episode, they're talking with a cast member from Hell on Wheels, and they are talking over martinis.
Huh. That's fun.
Yeah. 4 martinis in. This is Anson Mounts. We're still recording. I'm going to shut this off before I say I'm going to kill every member of
And then I shut it off.
Duran Duran.
I'll have to check it out. That sounds fun.
And moments later, don't get me wrong, I love her being Britney Spears. I think she's a lovely person, but at the end of the day, I hope someone says it about me, who gives a shit? And mind you, this is 4 martinis.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're definitely reaching into the bag at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big YouTube. Like I don't listen to as many podcasts as I wish I did. I really like YouTube versions of this type of thing. Like that Hot Wings. I love that
Hot
show.
Ones, yeah.
Hot Wings, yeah, because
they make that bomb sauce right here in Southwest Boulevard.
The bomb is right down the road, and that's why I bring it up. Is because that sauce it's the centerpiece of that show, and it's made right here in Kansas City.
It is.
That's a local spice that's only been made to cause that reaction. Because it is, I've tried it and it is disgusting. There's nothing good about that sauce. It's just hot in every way, and it just lingers in its heat for a hot minute to not.
So I could imagine if Guatemalan insanity peppers were actually a thing, it would probably be.
Literally drinking out of one, like it's crazy. I was just watching. They did the Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds one today.
I need to see that.
And, it was hilarious. Their reactions to the sauces were fantastic, and that's really what it is. It's Chris's push on the questions while they're getting poisoned, and them trying to focus. Like, what did he just say to me? Like, how am I supposed to even...
I'm just sweating my...
Stop talking and asking me questions. I can't breathe or think right now. Yeah. I think that's my favorite part is anytime it throws a curveball in there, I'd love that. I think one of my goals, of course, my agent and manager, they have their own 10-year plan for my career.
Right.
And that's great. But I have my own 5-year plan, and then I hope, don't coin the phrase, but I hope in the next 5 years I'm on Hot Ones, because I want to make it on Hot Ones before they stop doing that show, because I'm pretty sure at some point Chris is going to hurt himself to the point that he can't do the show anymore. Right. Like, how many times can you taste the bomb on a chicken wing before you develop an ulcer or something?
Right.
He eats all those wings and I think they're in season 4 or some ridiculous number.
Some ridiculously high number. I think they've been doing it for a while. Yeah,
they just tons,
a long while.
Tons. And I remember I watched the first season, and it was really, it was actors that were just coming up or had just been in one thing, and they, they're trying to do their press junket and get their marketing materials together, so they're willing to do about anything that gets thrown at them. And then as that season went on, you saw like bigger stars.
Yeah.
And the next season comes, and all of a sudden,
including
an A-lister shows up, and and here.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you look at it from the acting world from the outside. Most people just really they look A-listers. And that's, those are the actors. And if you're not an A-lister, like, nobody stops you in the street or asks for an autograph.
Right.
They're like, they even hear you're an actor. Oh, that's great. What have you been in? And here, Google me, blah, blah. And they will spend more time trying to prove you're not actually an actor than they will like just accepting the fact that it is a job that has. I mean, think how many television shows there are on, and how many channels there are,
Yeah.
and how many
And YouTube
movies, and how
channels
many
and all
YouTube.
that.
Like, I'm not even going to go into the
Oh my God.
influencers. Let's leave all the YouTube influences out of it because that's a whole nother ball game and
Yeah.
fan. But just the amount of shows and channels, there's more actors than any person on this planet could recognize
Yeah.
that are doing the job. And most
they
of us,
do, they
most
do
of
the
us,
job
yeah.
and they don't get the recognition. I agree.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's a sweet spot. I think right below A-lister, but maybe I know that guy. I think there's a sweet spot. I'd like to land in.
like
'cause I
Michael
want-
Ironside.
Yeah, I'd like
comes to mind.
to. Right. I'd like to still be able to go to Dylan's and get me a snack at like 7:00 at night and not be bugged. But like Leonardo DiCaprio, he can't
No, he can't.
leave his house
Yeah.
without getting like harassed.
Or again, to use the local example right now, Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift.
Right, they can't go anywhere,
Yeah.
and now they got these YouTube people pretending to be them.
And I actually happen to know a guy who lives in Kelsey's neighborhood.
Well, we don't want to give away where he lives again because he had to move already once because of Taylor
This is
fans.
from. Yeah. Well, we already know kind of, sort of, where those houses are. One's
Yeah.
up north, one's in Leawood, and that's the extent.
Yeah, if you live here, you kind of have an idea.
Yeah,
of
if you
where
live
Kelsey's at.
here.
But if you're not from here, and that's funny. Taylor said was one of her favorite things about Kansas City is that they understood their need to be able to exist in the city without being hounded. And she goes, that's probably one of her favorite things about the Midwest is they'll wave at you and smile, but
then the
won't-
second she's like, "Let's fucking go!"
Yes.
The paparazzi show up at his house.
Yeah.
And black security vans are in the street. Neighbors are being ID'd. That's how bad it got.
You gotta, and then people get mad because of all the money these people make. But think of how much they have to pay in security, how much they have to pay for the gates
Yeah.
of their houses, and
Yeah.
just to have any form of privacy and live a normal life. And that's why I know it sounds weird, but I don't think I'd ever want to be an A-lister. I think if my agent comes
Yeah.
to me and says, "Hey,
Because you have to deal with that.
I got a Marvel lead role for you," I mean, I probably wouldn't turn it down because my agent would kill me, and my manager would kill me because they get paid when I get paid. But I think I would be dreading that more than excited.
Right.
Because there's a level at which you can still be a normal person, and there's at a certain point you can't have it anymore. I think I've been on sets in different ways, and I think my favorite set, ideal job would be a sitcom.
Yeah.
That's not super like Big Bang Theory popular,
No.
but like something that's on TV that people enjoy. Because like when I was in LA with Kelly and he was on the night squad, he would go home in the evening, he'd go to bed, he'd get up in the morning, we'd go do the hot yoga at like 6 in the morning, we'd go down to Warner Brothers lot, and he'd go and check in his room, and then he'd be there for like 6-7 hours on set in his room that they had set up there because it was a long running show.
Right.
And they'd come and get him when they need him, and then he'd go back, and then he went home. It was a 9 to 5-er, Monday through Friday, and he had his weekends off. And I'm like, I want that. I want to just do a sitcom
There you go.
and just have a base character that I bring every day, and do that for a few years, and then get on a different sitcom and do that for a few years. I think that's an ideal actor situation after I've seen as much as I have and seen what it's done to people once they get so big,
Yeah.
and they don't seem to be enjoying themselves anymore. They seem
Exactly. You still have to find a way to enjoy what you do. But yeah, no. Back on the Kelsey tangent, I have also been listening to their the Kelsey Brothers
the
podcast,
Brothers? Yeah.
The New Heights. Yeah. So I heard, going back to Twilight for a second, I heard Jason's basically a torturous review of the Twilight series in one sitting.
Yeah, you're either on one side or the other side on the Twilight series. It's just not my genre.
Yeah.
I think it feels like the Twilights were made like for teenage. They're like teenage soft porn.
The thing about Twilights that people don't. Well, I know this because I came from the LDS faith. The vampires in that series are the model Mormon family.
Oh, okay.
Because Stephanie Meyer, the writer, is LDS.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all. I never knew that. So in the books,
And I have not read the book, so I can't.
Okay, so you may not be able to answer this because maybe I'll just have to Google it. I was wondering if the books wrote him as a sparkly vampire, or if that was something for the movies. Because I always found that to be the weirdest thing, is that he shined in the moonlight like a sparkly diamond. And I was like,
Right.
that's very different for a vampire. I don't think I've ever heard that lore before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just always wondered why they chose that. Now, maybe it was in the book. I don't know. I'll have to Google it.
Probably, yeah, Google it. Seems to be the answer to everything. Just Google it.
You know, it's so weird. We have every bit of human information at the tips of our fingertips at all time, but it's so crowded with misinformation that now it's trying to get to it that's the problem, not necessarily that it's not there, and confirming it to know that it's actually real.
Yeah. And another point about the New Heights podcast, I actually kind of started contributing to one episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, back in November, picking up my buddy Conrado, friend of the podcast, Conrado, to take him to the chess club, and was there a little early, so I stopped by this place. It's called Grill 32, right there on K32 in Edwardsville. Stopped by and noticed they had a New Heights sandwich on their menu. I was like,
Okay.
Does that have anything to do with the Kelsey's podcast? And we kind of named it after them, hoping that they'd
Mention it or something
mention
on
it
there.
or something. So,
Get him a little buzz.
so I took a photo on my phone, posted it to Reddit, and not even a week later, I'm hearing Travis Kelsey reading my words verbatim
Oh, nice.
and going over that sandwich, which created a lot of local buzz. So a lot of the TV stations locally started paying attention. They went out there, and
Oh, I bet the business boomed.
oh yeah.
Because it'll put you on the map real fast having someone like
Within
Travis
the
Kelsey talk
month,
about you.
I'm in that area again, and I stopped by and said, I'm the guy that made the Reddit post, and they gave me the sandwich for free.
Oh, hey. Is it good?
It is good. So it's
Okay, so then it was-
it's basically
it was
a triple decker. The top part is basically a Philly cheesesteak,
Okay.
and the bottom part is basically a BLT with ham or turkey, and they put barbecue sauce on it. And you can
That's a
imagine
lot.
It's this big.
Jeez.
It's about the size of the microphone.
So what do you cut it like a pizza so you can eat it? Like
They cut it in half, and you can still eat. You can still eat it in big form, but you're going to make a bit of a mess. So they at least give you a fork to eat up all the stuff that
Jiminy
falls out. Yeah.
Christmas. That's unnecessary.
But what was really funny about them reviewing the sandwich was the revelation that Travis Kelsey doesn't like mayonnaise.
And then was mayo on the sandwich?
Yeah, there's a little mayo on the sandwich, but it's barely noticeable.
Well, yeah,
But
so much stuff on
it
it.
led to Travis making some unholy whipping noises.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, I just hear somebody just whipping it. You could Google this, Mayo ASMR. Mayo ASMR featuring Travis Kelsey.
Oh, I'm going to. That's going to be something I do when I get home.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it wasn't, it's I've listened to a few episodes, and I'm a fan. They crack me up. They're funny. They play off each other well. You can tell they're brothers because of how well they're used to speaking to each other. And
Right.
It just kind of seems casual and comfortable. And that's really what makes a podcast is when it doesn't seem forced. I think it's easier to listen to and makes it a little more.
That's part of what makes doing this podcast fun, is that for the most part, it hasn't been forced, you know?
You get a lot of guests that you're comfortable around and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, you're enjoying 5 years of success now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Year 5.
Year 5. going
Wow.
into year 6, yeah.
So at 5, if I make it on the show 5 times, then next year, is there a jacket like SNL or something?
I'm still trying to figure out what to do with the 3-timers.
Oh, I don't think anybody. No. I didn't beat anybody to 3 timers. We'll wait.
Yeah.
Do the jacket at 5. That way I can beat everyone at 5. Be the first one with the jacket.
We'll see.
Be the
We'll see
Steve
about
Martin
that.
of the 5
The
timers.
5-timers. Yeah. We'll see how things go. I don't know if there's going to be a 5-timers club, but I am well aware of that Saturday Night Live tradition.
That's I'm a big SNL fan. Actually, I was training with. I'm a MFA master student, and Emma Stone went to CMFA, so we had the same acting coach for a moment. And when I finished that, they were putting me with this group out of Chicago that apparently trains all the SNL guys. So I was ad lib training
Nice.
from it. And you know, it's amazing how comedians, they're just the game of getting into the acting world from a comedian standpoint just mesmerizes and amazes me in every fashion, because it seems like you can't just do it. You can't just be anybody.
You gotta be naturally inclined to
Yeah,
do it.
you got to have that riz, as the kids call it nowadays, that natural funny riz that just comes natural. When you're in a room, you just make people laugh. I feel like a lot of us are funny like that, but we're funny when we're comfortable and alone with the people we trust.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like, everyone who knows me really closely, they're like, "You're the funniest guy I know." But get me outside of that, and then, you know, all of a sudden, I don't feel as comfortable letting loose like that. When you find people like Jim Carrey or Jack Black, there's some people that can let full loose in public like they do, like most of us do in private, and that's where the beauty comes from. Will Ferrell's of this world. Will Ferrell's a legend. Oh,
There was one of my guests was Jeff Blachek, the former drummer of Anything But Joey,
okay.
whom I've known since we were 8.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. He told a story about Sudeikis during his senior year, again, our freshman year. They did a spring show, so kind of skits and stuff, and Sudeikis was emceeing. I did not know anything about this until I talked to Jeff about it. So Jeff was saying that Sudeikis told a joke. So I was on the golf course today, got stung by a bee, and the doctor asked, "Well, where'd you get stung?" He said, "Between hole number 1 and hole number 2." And the doctor said, "Well, maybe you need to widen your stance."
That's classic.
And keep in mind, this is Jason Sudeikis as a high school senior.
I would 0% not believe that story, because that sounds right on par with this type of comedy. You know, he really shined on SNL. And then we got Heidi. Heidi came out of Kansas City,
Heidi
right?
Gardner. I actually
Gardner.
know her. I actually know one of her brothers through the film community, Justin.
Yeah. I met her once, way before she became big. Back when she was probably 18 when I met her. I was in Gardner, Kansas. I was out there, and it was a get together at a friend's house, like wine, cheese, charcuterie and stuff. And she was there with like a family member or something, and it was a big group. It was like 50, 60 people there. I think it might have been involved with the company I was dealing with in Kansas City at the time, because I used to be a recruiter. I still do that inside. Yeah. But now I only recruit for paraprofessionals, which help with kids who have special needs. So in my free time, I hire paraprofessionals, because there's a line in a lot of schools, public schools. There's a line for kids with special needs to get into school, because they have to have a paraprofessional per certain amount of kids who have special needs. And so I met this guy that started a company in Minnesota to work for the public school systems to hire paraprofessionals. He used to be an Amazon HR manager, and he's like, "I'm going to take my recruiting skills and I'm going to make a difference." So I do that on the side. We hire paraprofessionals for public school districts. So if you're a public school district out there and you need paraprofessionals, go to radartalentsolutions.com, and they'll help you get that line down for those poor kids. But most of us, pretty much all of us took pay cuts to do it, because schools don't have a lot of money. They can't really pay that much
especially the public schools, unfortunately.
Right. So, but it's still got to get done. So
and that's part of my day job, because teaching chess, most of our clubs are after school programs, and a lot of them are public schools. So shout out to Blue Springs District, the Platte County District, Shawnee Mission. Shawnee Mission, I think, can handle it. I think Shawnee Mission does a good job of that sort of thing. I speak as a product of the Shawnee Mission District. Park Hill, maybe.
Yeah, I feel pretty blessed. It feels there's something different about finishing your day working and knowing that what you did made a difference, as opposed to just grinding as part of a wheel. Because I've been there before. I've been an IT recruiter, plenty of money in it, but you're just a cog. You're only doing one piece of it because somebody else is doing the other piece. And the big Levi, I used to work for Levi, Ray, and Strauss. So the big Levi, Ray, and Strauss machine, I'm just like this little cog. No, I could never go back to doing that. It's part of what pushed me back into acting in the first place, was that it wasn't working for me. And, but I think 90% of actors, it's some statistic like that, 85 to 90% of actors have a side job.
Because they have to.
Well, I mean, look at the girls, the whole cast of The Orange is the New Black, with the strike and everything that happened, the fights, over the streaming wars and everything. I mean, did you see the YouTube videos of them holding up their residual checks? And it was like
I believe it.
$5
I've seen some of those photos.
cents.
Yeah,
Like
nothing.
like you got 5 years before that, you got these people were getting $50,000 residual checks once a month for being on something like Friends or something like. And then they were on the huge show Orange is the New Black, and they were main character for 7 seasons, and they are making $5. That's 7 years of their lives they gave to this show, and they built this character and memorized and worked their butts off. And I'm just glad the strikes are over, and I'm glad we won. I'm glad we got the rights, the streaming thing, because the streaming thing is it's a whole crazy new beast. But we got to always be prepared for changes in the industry like that, because they acted like that when we went from going just cable television to VHSs, and they freaked out when VHSs came out, and then Blu-rays, and it just technology changes. Yeah, and you got to adjust with the society and adjust with the times, man. I don't know. It's been a weird few years in the acting world. I'll tell you that. My agent constantly tells me I picked the worst time in history to try to become an actor, between the strikes and the pandemic. Right. So it's been a weird ride, but literally I'm ready for anything at this point after that. So what is that old saying? Eat your frog. Whatever you hate, do it first and get out of the way. So I've gone through a pandemic, and I've gone through that as an actor. So the strikes, and so I mean. Anything else they throw at me, I'm pretty much ready for at this point.
And Orange is the New Black. Shout out to Kay Mulgrew. Yeah. Captain Janeway.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple minutes left. So.
Okay. So nepotism. What do you think about that?
Well, if they're qualified for the job, that's the important thing. They got to be qualified for the job. Then no problem. But so like Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian, who have no discernible talents,
or have done any classes, or have met with it, they don't have any coaches on their resume. I don't want to throw anybody in the bus, but I like The Boys, the show that's on Amazon. Jack Quaid plays Huey on there. He has been studying his craft for a long time. He worked hard at it. He started in small roles, and he built it up, and he's killing it. And there's a reason why he's doing so good in the show, and he looks so good. He works well along with all his castmates and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to throw anybody in the bus, but I know an exact different situation where somebody was the front runner on a show, and it was season 2, and they wanted their daughter to have a part who had never been to it. I've been coached by several different coaches. I've got 4 years of college and theater scholarship. I did commercials and got paid nothing for independent films for 2 to 3 years. Right. And then I finally started getting paid for commercials. Did that for 2 years. I've gone through 4 agencies to get to the point where I'm actually getting auditions for Stranger Things. I'm getting auditions for NCIS. I'm getting auditions for all the major networks. And now I'm in like year 5, and I built this, and this person had nothing, no resume whatsoever, was just on the couch one day with their parent and said, I want to be on your show. Not only did she get a role, not a background role or some extra, just let her be on set. She got a major speaking role. One of the and most people don't realize this, in a movie, probably 8 to 10 people speak in the whole movie. Most of them are background actors, and in a TV show it can be more or less, but somewhere around the same area, because you got the main characters, and then they might run into a few people throughout the episode. But you're not going to get a lot of people that are going to speak. This is a major speaking role and a major character for the rest of the season, with no reason for her to be there. Like, she earned nothing. Not only is it bad for the girl was already hired for that job, by the way. They had already hired, and this girl had gone through the auditions. She had done the work. She paid out of her own pocket for training to deal with horses for this role. Yeah. And she had done all that. And then she got the role, so she went ahead and paid for the classes for the horses. She was very excited. And like a week before she came on set, they said, get her into training for horses. We want her to take the role. She's my daughter. I want her in this role. Get rid of the other girl. Like that. And that right there is not only unfair for everybody who works hard to try to make it in, but that poor girl, no one liked her. Yeah. No one wanted to talk to her. No one respected her. And she was just snubbed by everybody who was in the cast. And when you lose that chemistry, I think the story loses something. I hear it. I think the show itself loses something. And I liked the season 1 of the show. And season 2, you could feel the tension from the customer side.
Right.
So it's really sad, and it ruins everything. And that's the kind of nepotism I think is really irritating the acting world. Is the nepotism that destroys the hard work the rest of us are putting in.
Yeah.
If they haven't put any hard work, because every industry is going to have a hand up. Yeah, if you got an engineer uncle and you just finished college for engineering and you call him up and he tries to get you into a job, that happens all the time. But you went to college first. He's not going to call Timmy at 18 with no degree and say, I'm going to give you an engineering job.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. So that's my take on it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. Another track actor, Jack Wade. Yeah.
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 Oh,
It's in
dude.
Boimler.
He gives me that Pacey from Dawson's Creek kind of vibes. He's the innocent, like, happy, unexpected. That show isn't innocent, though. Oh, my goodness. That show. Oh, have you watched The Boys?
I have not. I've seen Lower Decks.
Oh,
Yeah, he's good in Lower Decks.
that show will just change how you. There's scenes I can't ever get out of my head, and it's unfair to my brain. It's pretty bad. Yeah, I don't. If you have a queasy stomach at all, do not watch The Boys. They push the boundaries after you push the boundaries. They jump on the boundaries and they beat the crap out of the boundaries past those boundaries. It's
Wow.
pretty twisted.
That is pretty.
But I appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah.
Man. It's been a while since I've got to see you in person. This was
Exactly.
great
Exactly.
to see
So it's
each
great
other.
to have you in person,
Yeah.
and great to add you to the Three Timers Club. And yeah.
I hope everyone looks up George M. Dean. Put me on your follow list. I'm on all profiles, and you can look at some of the stuff I've done. And I appreciate everyone taking the time to get to know me today.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. So I want to thank George for coming on. Heather, get well soon. And we have one more show on Saturday night, 6 o'clock, right here. We'll have our final guest for this Fringe program. And I want to thank you all for your supports, and I look forward to doing this again on Saturday. So thank you, and good night.
This podcast is Uncalled For is hosted, produced and edited by Mike Chernevsky. Opening music for our KC Fringe program is Welcome to Fringe, courtesy of Suno.com. Outro music for our KC Fringe program is Fantasia by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you are in the United States or Canada, you can call us at 816-832-5160. Leave your message or question for us, and if we like it, we will play it on the podcast. Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.